Hey folks, Jim Dunaway from The Next Round. It's time to look back and enjoy a week of Southeastern Conference football as we talk about what we saw in the field. And as always, we're excited to be partnered with our friends at Cowin Equipment. And they'd like to partner up with your company for all your heavy equipment needs. Visit everyone over at Cowin on their website at cowin.com to find out more about how you can save with your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to superior service and parts. It's all right there with our friends at Cowin Equipment. Visit cowin.com. That's cowin.com. Now let's check out the action.
We'll get to the games on the field, but we've got two major stories that are off the field, right? Two major stories that are off the field. We'll start with the one that is more interesting to me, and that is the job opening that is now official at LSU. And it's unique the way they're doing this. Ed Orgeron is getting every penny of almost $17 million of his buyout, which some people said is a gift from LSU because they could definitely hold some things against him to maybe not pay anything. But they're going to pay him everything, and he's going to coach the rest of the year. And he seems very content with this move. What do you think, first of all, about LSU coming off maybe their best performance of the year, making the move right now?
I felt it so interesting because I got asked multiple times on Friday and Saturday morning, do you think Orgeron will be jobless on Monday? And I said, I just don't think LSU is going to fire this guy, just based on the fact that 19 months ago he had one of the best teams in the history of college football, and he is one of LSU's own. I just don't see them doing this to him. But then they go out and they play the game of their life with 60 scholarship players. I think that was one of the biggest surprises of the weekend, how they performed against Florida. And then they come up with this agreement after the fact. The whole thing was weird.
What is the motive to stay here the entire season when you know you're no longer going to be here?
Well, I've been telling them, kids, we're going to finish. We're not going to blink. I'm going to be right there with them. That's the reason. Scott and I mutually agreed. But I'm going to finish with this team. I love this team. I love being with these guys. I love LSU. And the day I leave here, I'm going to do everything I can every day.
Ed Orgeron 6-4 last 10 games with 2 wins over Florida. Dan Mullen's 4-6 over the last 10 games. And he just got beat on national TV this past weekend by LSU, the guy who they'd already decided to fire. Does Florida now have a Dan Mullen problem? Do you guys continue to defend him as one of the better coaches in college football?
Boy, it's a bad look over the last 10 games. I'll give you that, Dunaway. And, here's the interesting thing, Brown. If Florida can just take care of LSU, it's like Florida's got an Orgeron problem. You go back to last year, if they beat LSU.
He owns them.
Yeah, you're talking about maybe in the 14 playoff, and then you lose here. The loss to Alabama is a hard-fought 2-point loss. That's acceptable. Losing on the road to what was then an undefeated Kentucky team by a possession, that's acceptable. But losing to 60 scholarship players, LSU just fired Ed Orgeron, that's not acceptable.
You said 4 wins in the last 10 is what Mullen has. As one of our listeners pointed out, can I run this list of the 4 wins for you?
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic, South Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt.
But for all the praise that the Arkansas coaching staff has gotten throughout the year, this is one that, if you compare the Brian Harsin coaching staff and the Arkansas coaching staff,
they got outcoached.
Advantage Auburn in that one.
In that one, I thought Mike Bobo did a great job. Again, Kendall Browse, the play calling, first down, and Aaron Murray brought this up. They just pissed away first downs after first downs. I mean, that's what they were doing. It was like, we're just going to see what we can do on second and third down because we're giving you first downs.
Yeah.
But Bo Nix played, you brought it up earlier in the show, to me, the best game he's played as an Auburn Tiger.
Well, it starts with
that good. He made one mistake all day.
Yeah, and that was, it was like a long punt at that point, a long interception. But the throw to Demetrius Robertson, the 70-plus yard touchdown, his best deep ball of his career.
Bobo taking that shot.
I agree.
Right after Arkansas gets held on 4th down, go up top, take that shot.
And you were down 3. You got the defensive touchdown, and then you get to stop, and then you dial up the deep ball that has been
sudden change.
Has been a problem for Bo Nix connecting on those deep throws.
And 3 seconds completely changed everything in that game for Arkansas.
That's one of those games against a ranked team on the road that Brian Harsin can start to build on.
If you would have told me before the game that Arkansas was going to outgain Auburn by almost 100 yards on the ground, I would have said Arkansas probably wins this game.
Yeah.
But Bo was that good.
boy, Mississippi State and Mike Leach, if you're a State fan and you love him, you've got to at least admit with that offense, they've got to figure out how to do something different against Alabama, because in 2 tries now, Alabama's defensive coaching staff has not been fooled one bit by what the Pirate tries to do. 3 field goals in 2 years is not going to beat Alabama ever, and they're going to have to start running the ball at some point or do something different if they're going to beat a team like Alabama in Mike Leach's time at Mississippi State.
That was a pretty dominant defensive performance by Alabama, and it kind of looked bend but don't break early on. But Lance, for them to keep that offense under 300 yards, to have the 2 turnovers, one of which was the pick 6, to sack 7 times the Mississippi State quarterback, including 4 by what might be the best defensive player in the country right now, that was a dominant defensive performance this day and age.
I know we had Will Anderson. We showed him from the podium last week and how angry he was.
He played that way.
But if I'm an Alabama fan, I'm so upset going back to last week because the A&M offensive line, I don't know if it's as good as Mississippi State's offensive line. I think they're probably comparable. But for that Alabama defense to come out and get the 7 sacks, and they were held sackless the week before, it just makes no sense.
Everybody's trying to get back on the team bus quick, so let's do just a mass post-game interview. But in person in Starkville, here's Will Anderson.
I think we were all locked in. We were all focused. And I know like, most of my interviews have been saying like football has to be the most important thing. And I think definitely this week football was the most important thing. And we just didn't want that feeling that we felt last week.
And no, I know Mississippi State wasn't threatening to be a playoff team or a top 25 team, but that was an answer.
That type of leadership, first of all, from a sophomore is pretty incredible. To think that guy is not even an upperclassman, and he's giving you that type of leadership.
I mean, that guy is, we've said it a million times, everybody says he's unblockable, but I thought John Mechie played by far his best game.
I agree.
Toa was really good.
I agree.
The offensive line was improved.
Yep.
I mean, that looked the part of a team that could win a national championship.
Yeah. Do you think Lane had any part in what went on in Knoxville? Because I believe that he pokes the cage enough of fan bases that he is leading Ole Miss to play against, that what happened the other night, there he is leaving, video of him leaving, pointing number 1.
I cannot believe this guy is the superstar that he is.
And then he catches the bottle of, I believe, urine that is being thrown at him there with a loose cap. He makes the catch there.
Now, of course, he thinks it's all about him. This was not about Lane Kiffin. This was a juiced-up atmosphere. You guys saw pregame. This was the first time Tennessee felt like that they were relevant again in a long time.
You do not think any of this? I think that incident over the course of time could have played out in Baton Rouge and Tuscaloosa, anywhere Lane is going to play, if he is poking the cage, more so in Knoxville because he was the coach there.
The crowd, all right, this is it's complicated. The crowd was juiced the way they were because of Lane Kiffin coming back. Now, did Lane do stuff in that game? See, now I have volume up on Alabama, Mississippi State. I had the Tennessee Ole Miss game on, and I'm watching, but I didn't get all the volume. So Tennessee fans were like, Lane and Matt Corral were inciting the crowd all night. I didn't see that. Now I watched the whole fourth quarter with volume up, but it had already gotten, pretty amped up at that point. So I don't know what Lane and Matt Corral were doing to quote unquote, incite the crowd. But just Lane being back had the crowd the level it was. If that were Mississippi State in town, that crowd wouldn't have been like that.
They win the football game against Tennessee, a big win. I mean, this Ole Miss team looks like they're staring 11-1 right in the face, right? They're staring down 11-1. And here's Kiffin reacting to everything that went on in Knoxville.
I just wanted to play. I mean, the players got helmets. It's the coaches that are going to get hit. Like, I still have my souvenir golf ball that I got hit with. But I think that's one of the most passionate fan bases in America. And you got 100,000 of them together, and things don't go their way when all that energy's going, and they got upset. I don't know if it was. I'm not sure it wasn't partly at the refs too, because they replayed the play, and I think they're watching his other hand, thinking they had a first down. So, it is what it is. There's some number of bottles with some brown stuff in them, so I'm not sure. Probably not moonshine. I don't think they'd waste the moonshine on me.
Yeah,
that's a good line.
100%. It was urine.
Brown?
No.
What have they been drinking?
Not enough water.
It was bourbon.
You think it was bourbon?
Piss at him.
If you fill a bottle
Hold
of
on, give me a second.
Medieval times.
No, you check. You go ask. You go ask the United States men's soccer team when they play in rival Mexico.
That's a little bit different. I don't think this fan base, and I do agree with Brown, it was whipped up a little bit more because of Lane Kiffin. He was there 1 year. Lane Kiffin's giving himself way too much credit on this.
If you were a Tennessee fan and you went number one in a bottle in the stands and threw it at Lane Kiffin, hit us up on the chat room.
And if it was Brown, head to the infirmary.
What do you do in that situation now? Because Stetson
become a
Bennett, the
situation.
fourth, now has started 3 straight games. And I mentioned to Brown in our Saturday breakout, I watched them, and I don't think they're doing any. They're not holding anything back. They're not protecting him in any way. They're calling the offense for Stetson Bennett.
I don't know, Brown, how good this offense is, though, and I give Stetson Bennett a lot of credit. And I do think it's kind of a dilemma now for Kirby Smart moving forward once JT is cleared, because Stetson's done everything you could ask of him. He's actually making really, really good throws. He's completing 70% of his passes now. He's only thrown 2 picks. So I do think you've got a little bit of a dilemma, and I'm not going to be surprised at all if it's just Stetson Bennett moving forward. But Brock Bowers, if you can somehow take him out of the game plan, once Georgia plays an elite team, I wonder how effective their offense will be.
The DNA of Georgia is the fact that they are playing at a championship level. An impressive performance against the Kentucky Wildcats. Here's Kirby Smart after the game.
Proud of our guys. I thought our DNA showed through. Our DNA continues to repeatedly show up. Composure, connection, resiliency, and toughness. Those qualities come through in this team. You know, at halftime, nobody was panicked. Nobody was, nervous. It's a physical football game. We're going to stay aggressive, keep coming at them, and give them a lot of credit. They got a good football team, but I'm proud of our guys and the way so many players have risen up and rose to the occasion.